I knew my relationship was over the night my fiancé laughed while I stood at the sink sobbing, and he just leaned on the counter like he was watching a sitcom. From the outside, our life looked normal. I worked closing shifts as a cashier at the grocery store, came home tired and smelling like fryer oil, and started dinner while Tyler rolled in later from the auto shop. The first warning sign was small. I was telling him about a woman who tried to return a half-eaten rotisserie chicken, acting it out because it usually made him laugh. He rolled his eyes and pitched his voice high. And then I said, and then she said, he mocked, God live, do you ever shut up? I laughed, because that's what I was supposed to do. I flicked a little water at him and called him an ass, but something in my chest pulled tight and stayed that way. After that, the jokes spread into everything. I was too emotional when I teared up at a movie, too sensitive when he forgot to pick me up after my late shift, and I walked home in the rain. Relax. It's not that deep, he'd say whenever I tried to explain why it hurt. Eventually, I stopped explaining and just apologized. For being upset, for being tired, for needing anything at all. Money gave him another angle. I covered groceries and my half of the rent. He paid the car and utilities. I pay the real bills, he'd remind me, scrolling on his phone while I scrubbed pans. You get to play with the fun money. When I mentioned taking a night class at the community college, his answer was instant. We can't afford for you to play student. Be realistic, Liv. I told myself he was just stressed. The shop was slow, he said. Some nights he came home late, blaming last-minute customers or a coworker messing up jobs. The excuses changed. The heaviness in my stomach didn't. It was my coworker Hannah who finally said what I wouldn't. We were in the break room, splitting a bruised apple under buzzing fluorescent lights, both of us half asleep. I repeated one of Tyler's jokes, without thinking. Hannah's face tightened. Does he always talk to you like that? She asked. Because that sounds mean, not funny. I shrugged. He's actually really sweet most of the time, I said. He just has a rough sense of humor. Even to me, it sounded like something I'd practiced. One Sunday, his mom invited us over. I spent the afternoon cooking, actually excited to show I could make more than boxed mac and cheese. 30 minutes before we were supposed to leave, he texted, running late at the shop. Mom says another time. No apology, no mention of the food. Just a flat cancellation, like my time didn't count. The real shift came on a random Wednesday. I'd worked a double, my feet ached, and my name tag was still pinned crookedly to my shirt when I walked into our dim living room. Tyler wasn't home yet, but his gray work hoodie was draped over the back of the couch instead of tossed on the kitchen chair like he did every night. I picked it up to move it and caught a smell that didn't belong to our house. Not motor oil, not cheap detergent, not my body spray. Something soft and floral clung to the fabric, light but clear, like someone had leaned against him and stayed too close for too long. I stood there in the half-dark, hoodie in my hands, and for the first time, the quiet around me didn't feel like safety at all. It felt like the moment right before you finally admit you've been ignoring the obvious for a long, long time. The next few days, I convinced myself I was imagining it. People brush up on each other all day. Maybe a customer hugged him. Maybe a coworker's perfume lingered. I washed the hoodie and told myself that meant it was over. But after that, I noticed everything. He started showering the minute he got home instead of collapsing on the couch. His phone, which used to live on the coffee table, was suddenly always in his pocket or in his hand, even when he went to the bathroom. Then, he changed his passcode. I watched his fingers moving just fast enough to keep me from seeing the pattern. When I asked why, he snorted. Because you're nosy, he said. You're always in my phone, Liv. It's creepy. I'd never once gone through his phone. One night, I was doing laundry in the basement, juggling a basket on my hip. His jeans were inside out, pockets stuffed with receipts and screws. I checked them automatically so the washer wouldn't eat anything. I pulled out a crumpled receipt from a diner across town. 2 meals, 2 milkshakes, a slice of pie. The total was more than we'd spent the last time we went out together, whenever that even was. The date was from the previous Tuesday, the night he said he had to stay late to close the shop. When I went back upstairs, my chest felt hollow. He was stretched out on the couch, a game show flickering on mute, his face lit blue. "How was work?" I asked, my voice too bright. "Busy," he said without looking at me. "Had to redo some idiot's brake job. I'm wiped." I stared at the side of his face and thought about who'd sat across from him in that diner, eating pie and listening to the same jokes that used to be mine. After that, our life felt fake. I still packed his lunch. I still folded his shirts. I still texted him, "Drive safe," when he left in the morning, even when he started replying with just a thumbs up. The late nights kept piling up. There was a new playlist on his phone full of love songs I'd never heard. I begged my manager to let me leave a Friday shift an hour early because Tyler had promised we'd have a real date night, just us. I even put on mascara in the employee bathroom, hands shaking over the stained sink. When I walked into our apartment, the lights were off. No candles, no dinner started, no Tyler. I checked my phone. No texts, no missed calls. I waited an hour, then another. I tried calling twice. It went straight to voicemail. Then his text came in at 11:23 p.m. Crashing at Mike's. "Poker ran late. Don't wait up." No apology, no explanation. Just an assumption I'd accept it. I stared at the words until they blurred, my mascara stinging my eyes. Something cold settled over me then, heavier than sadness, sharper than anger. It was like finally hearing a noise you've been pretending not to hear for months. I thought about the perfume on his hoodie, the diner receipt, the way he tilted his phone away when I walked behind him, the jokes that were just insults with a smile. And for the first time in 3 years together, one clear thought slid into place with terrifying calm. I'm done being the one who gets hurt here. By the time the sun started coming up over the cracked parking lot outside our window, I knew I wasn't just going to leave quietly. If he wanted to treat me like I was stupid, like I couldn't see what was right in front of me, then he was about to find out exactly how much I actually noticed. The first step was admitting I wasn't crazy. On my lunch break, I bought a tiny notebook and kept it in my locker. Every time Tyler worked late, I wrote the date, his excuse, and anything that felt off. Watching the list grow made it harder to gaslight myself. Hannah saw it one night. I told her about the perfume on his hoodie, the diner receipt, the new passcode, poker night that somehow ran until almost midnight. "My cousin works at that diner," she said. "Let me ask her." 2 days later, she came back, face tight. She sees him. He comes in with the same girl. Brown hair, nose ring. They share dessert. He told her he lives alone. Her cousin had snapped a quick photo. It showed Tyler in his gray hoodie, leaning toward a girl in a corner booth, a milkshake between them. The timestamp matched one of his late at the shop nights. I stared at it until everything inside me went still. "If she doesn't know about me," I said, "she should." That night, while he watched TV, I sat on our bed and searched the diner's tagged photos. I found her, Kayla, tagged in a group shot in the same uniform. My message to her was simple. "Hey, this is awkward, but I think we're both seeing the same guy. I'm not trying to fight, I just want the truth." She answered the next afternoon while I was stocking soup. "Is this about Tyler?" Between customers, we traded proof. I sent a photo of me and Tyler at my cousin's wedding, my ring front and center. She sent screenshots where he called her baby and complained about living alone. By the end of my shift, we both knew the timeline. He'd been with her for months, telling her I was a crazy ex who wouldn't leave him alone. "I didn't know," she wrote. "I'm so sorry." I believed her. We were on the same sinking boat, and he was the one who drilled the hole. "I'm not mad at you," I replied. "I'm done letting him lie. If you want to help make sure he can't talk his way out, I'm listening." She agreed. After that, I stopped reacting at home. When he took shots at my job, I hummed and rinsed dishes. When he stayed late, I didn't argue. I just stopped waiting up. On the surface, I was calm, even kind. He relaxed, sure the storm had passed. Meanwhile, I moved quietly. I put my birth certificate, social security card, and the few things that mattered most into a shoebox in my locker. I opened a checking account in my name at the credit union across from work and switched my direct deposit. The joint account became his play money, not my lifeline. One night, after he fell asleep, I pulled out our lease. My name was the only one under tenant. His was listed as approved occupant. If he went, the apartment stayed with me. Kayla started saving texts where he trashed me and writing down nights he claimed to be stuck at the shop. Hannah's cousin kept note of when he came into the diner. The plan we made was quiet. Kayla would ask to finally see his place on a night he thought I was working late. I'd switch shifts and be waiting at home. Before that, I spoke to our landlord, said Tyler, and I were having problems, and asked if I could stay on the lease alone if he moved out. She said yes, especially if I took on a roommate. By the time he walked through our door with his secret girlfriend on his arm, my documents would be safe, my money in my own account, and my next move already lined up. For years he'd acted like I was lucky he chose me. Now I was the one choosing how this ended. Tyler always figured I was too emotional to do anything but cry. He was wrong. We picked a Thursday. I traded shifts. Kayla sent me a screenshot where he promised to finally show her his place after her shift. I got home before dark, packed a small duffel with his basics, and set it by the door. On the coffee table, I laid the lease with my name highlighted, my new bank statement, and screenshots Kayla had sent. Texts, the diner photo, his lies about me. I'd already moved my documents to my locker, switched my direct deposit, and talked to the landlord. The lease would stay in my name. Around 8, I left one lamp on and sat on the couch to wait. The key turned in the lock. Tyler came in laughing. "Place is a little messy, don't—" He saw me and stopped. Kayla stepped in behind him, still in her diner uniform, and went pale when she realized who I was. "Oh," she said softly. Tyler jumped straight to damage control. "Liv, what are you doing here?" "I told you to quit showing up. She's my ex," he said to Kayla. "She won't let it go." I slid the lease toward her. "I live here," I said. "My name's on the contract. Tyler's just an occupant." His eyes went to the duffel. "What is this?" he demanded. "That's you moving out," I said. "My money's in my own account now. The landlord knows you're leaving. You can come back this weekend when I'm at work to grab the rest." "You can't kick me out," he said louder. "I checked," I answered. "You don't get tenant rights for cheating on the person who actually pays the bills." Kayla picked up the text and photo. Her hand shook. "You told me she hit you," she whispered. "You said she stole from you. You said you were scared of her." I didn't raise my voice. "I've never touched him," I said. "I walk home alone at night while he's out sharing dessert and telling you he lives by himself." Tyler tried to laugh. "They're just mad. You know how girls get—" "Don't," Kayla cut in. She looked at him like he was a stranger. "You lied about everything." He reached for her. She stepped away. "I'm done, Tyler," I said. "You're not sleeping here. Call your friends, call your mom, sleep in your car, I don't care. You're not staying here, eating food I bought, while you pretend I don't exist." "You're throwing away 3 years over some messages?" he asked. I stood up. "I'm walking away from 3 years of disrespect," I said. "The messages just made it obvious." I opened the door. The hallway light spilled in. Kayla walked out first. At the doorway, she paused and turned back to me. "If you ever need me to back you up, I will," she said. "I'm sorry." "I know," I told her. "He lied to both of us." She nodded and left. Tyler grabbed the duffel. He muttered under his breath, but I didn't bother catching the words. The door closed behind him with a small click. I sat on the couch for a minute, let myself cry once, then washed my face and went to bed alone in a room that finally felt like mine. A month later, I had a co-worker roommate, a budget, and evenings that didn't revolve around wondering where Tyler was. My revenge wasn't loud or dramatic. It was in making sure the truth sat right where he'd been lying, and in taking back every part of my life he treated like it was his. He left with a small bag, and no more story where he was the victim. I stayed with my name on the lease, my own account, and one rule for the future: if someone makes me feel small, they don't get to stay.